Today's tutorial, I'm going to show you an even easier, faster, neater way of altering these mini composition books. In the past, I've used gel prints and I use gel medium or fluid medium to glue them down. But today, I'm going to use these peel and stick masterboards. I'll put a link to the video where I show how I created these masterboards and some of the ins and outs of that. But today, I'm just going to decorate one of these books and show you just how easy it is. Now, you can make out of one sheet of sticker paper the covers for 3 composition books. Or you can make different sizes, 4x4 canvas panels, tags, ATCs, you name it. They make great Insta backgrounds. So I made a template for a composition book. It just fits on the cover. Now you can just take the book, open it up, and trace it out and cut if you prefer. I like using the template. I've added just a little bit of excess that you'll see me cutting off later. I find if you cut it exact, if you don't line it up just perfectly, you might run into some difficulties. So by adding that little bit on the template, I avoid that problem. You can see how it's just that little bit over, and I'll be cutting that off afterwards. So simply just put the template on and cut. How simple is that? The mess has already been created during a Build Your Stash session. Then just peel. I open up the book, lay it flat. Now this is super sticky, so you got to make sure you have it in the right place. I tap it down in the middle and rub to make good contact. I'm leaving the black binding. I like the look of that. Then I'm grabbing my scissors and cutting off any of the excess. No muss, no fuss, no gel medium all over your fingers. It couldn't be easier or faster. Now, I'm making sure that I have good adherence. It's very sticky, the full sheet sticker paper. And I'll put a link to that in the iCards and at the end of the video for the brand that I use and that I love. For making these for craft fairs or party favors or gifts, this couldn't be faster or easier. When I use gel medium, I'd always have to go back and they're a little bit on the edges and re-glue them. None of that happens with this sticker paper. I grab the bone folder and just kind of burnish it a little bit just to make sure I've got really good adhesion. But none of the edges came up. If it's sticky over the edge, you can take a file and file that off and get rid of the sticky. But we'll be putting some paint on it, so we kind of solve that problem. So now I'm worried, or I'm looking towards getting a focal point. And I grabbed a few stamps. I've got my 5x7 gel plate. I'm just putting black acrylic paint on this, and I'm using this kind of like a stamp pad. I like using the acrylic paint instead of ink. I get a darker, bolder stamp, and it has that little bit of texture. Both of these stamps I got at minisnapkins.com, and I haven't yet to use them on a project. I'm stamping out extras. I've got the gel plate out, I've got the brayer dirty, so I'm going to add to my stash. Whatever I don't use, I'm going to add to my stash. Grab these butterflies, and I'll link all of these in the description box below. Just checking for size. I know I'll be making more composition books at some point in time, so I know that having extra stuff already stamped out in my stash comes in really super handy. Now, one of the things when it's acrylic paint, you got to spray your stamps and wash them. I use my Murphy's oil soap mixture. And you need to make sure that the stamped image is dry. And it takes a little longer than if you're using archival ink. I'm impatient, so I use my heat tool. Then I quickly just cut them all out. Now you have options here. You can leave a white border. I call that bubble cutting, or you can cut right to the edge. It's a personal preference and there is no right or wrong, just whatever you choose to do for the project that you are doing it on. So in the end, I decided I had to use that crown. I absolutely loved that. And I needed something to put the crown on, so I grabbed, you guessed it, one of my crazy birds. Now I decided to color him kind of orange pink because that's what's in the background of that masterboard that I put on the cover. So I'm mixing the paint. This is orange from Artist Loft and then Liquitex Basic Alizarin Crimson. And I'm blending the colors wet and wet. And there you can see how it stands out against the background. We'll get back in frame here in a minute. Sorry about that. I like to give you close-ups, but then sometimes I forget to look in the camera when I get into the process of creating. So there I have them all blended. Switching to a smaller brush to get some of the finer areas painted. And I just stamped this crazy bird onto regular copy paper. You could put it on mixed media paper or tag paper if you prefer. I did contemplate keeping the crazy bird and everything white. I like the white and black with the background, and that's an option. I was recently at a craft fair and someone wanted something with royalty and a princess, and I didn't have anything. I guess that's maybe why it was in my head. Cutting off the excess white between the legs. And just positioning the sentiment. I went on Pinterest to look for some quotes with crowns or royalty just to get something. And because I have this crown stamp and I want to be able to use it again. Now, if I didn't have the crazy bird, I could find a picture of a person in a magazine that fits the scale of the crown. I'm using some gel medium here to glue everything down. Putting a coat underneath and then on top. I don't varnish or spray to preserve any of the composition books, but they do get a good coat of gel medium or fluid medium, and that tends to protect them They stand up fairly well in my purse. I don't worry about getting everything perfectly straight. I don't even attempt it. If you put things at an angle, it looks like you've done it on purpose and nobody's the wiser. I use the bolder font here just because I wanted it to stand out from the background. If I was doing this for a craft fair, I would get out my guillotine cutter, cut a whole bunch of the masterboard sheets, peel, stick them, burnish them, and then have them ready. And then another creative time, worry about the focal images. I'm edging this with black. I've got black acrylic paint on my makeup sponge. I'm treating the cover of the composition book as I would an art journal page. And I always shade around the outside or edge. It just seems to frame the page and set it off. I've kept this fairly close or less sped up. I've asked recently people's opinions, and a lot of people commented that they like the less sped up process. So I'm going to attempt to do at least one of my 3 videos every week at a more real-time speed. I want to shade the bird, so I've got black acrylic paint on my angle brush. This really makes the focal image pop. And stand out from the background, especially when it's basically the same color as the background. The shading or highlighting really helps. I want it to soften the edging around the outside. Now, I didn't print this sentiment on the sticker paper, but I could have, and then that would have been peel and stick as well. Now I've got gold paint and I'm using the stylus and I'm adding the gold baubles in the crown. I'm going to leave it primarily white, but I am just going to add a little bit of that gold. And I realize I did not splatter gold on this, but you could have, and that would have looked really nice. I always like the look of gold splatter on my projects. If you don't have a stylus, you could use the end of a small paintbrush. Since I have that crown, I've got a few other sentiments that I printed off at the same time. And again, that's going into my stash. So the next time I'm creating with that crown, I have something ready to go. I grabbed my Sakura Glaze Gel Pen. This is dimensional and glossy, and tracing around the sentiment. And then some of the lines on the crazy bird. Because it's dimensional, it really adds to the finished product. I'm not trying to do it perfectly. It looks kind of sketchy. And then I'm just edging, putting a line around it. The Sakura Glaze pens just work so smoothly. They are a great product. So I decided that I'm going to add a little something extra to this composition book. And you can get these little mini calendars from Ninny's Napkins. And I'm just going to attach one to the inside cover. So when I have this in my purse, I can just flip through and see the dates. Now, the paper that I had doesn't quite cover the inside, so I'm colorizing the edge of this. So I just got out my orange and pink colors. And once this is on, it's going to all be colorized and no one's the wiser. So that's a good way of, if you have some masterboard sticker paper and it's not big enough, you can just extend it by doing this. I'm giving this a good dry. Now the calendar is going that way, and I'm going to stick it on with the sticker paper like that. So first I'm going to get it to adhere to the cardboard at the back of the calendar. Make sure I get good adherence here. And then I do have to use some gel medium on the back of this cardboard because it's not going to be glued down because there's no sticker paper there. Does that make sense? And I'm using gel medium instead of fluid medium because it's cardboard, it's thicker paper. Putting some more here. I'm going to line this up and stick it down. I think that extra sticker paper is going to help hold that calendar in place as opposed to just trying to glue it down. I'm just cutting off the excess, and then I'm going to grab my makeup sponge with black paint and re-edge where I've now covered it up. So if you haven't gone and bought some sticker paper, go and do it. Make some masterboards. I've got more videos showing how I use all these sticker paper masterboards and other ways to use that sticker paper. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Until next time, go get creative.